Okay, it's a minute for you and it's the next day for me. I had to get some more welding wire and I had to make another video on fixing the oiler on a chainsaw. So, now it's evening time and it's time to get back to this project. I don't know if I mentioned yesterday in the video, but I signed up for Uber Eats delivery. I'm going to be delivering on my e-bike. This has 25,000 miles on it, and I am attempting to purchase a second e-bike, a new one. So I have a fundraiser that will be pinned comment and in the description down below if anyone wants to support my channel or me. I hustle. I cut grass. I do construction work for certain people. I fix machines, obviously, and now I'm going to be adding to that part-time delivery. But you know, I'm only looking to make 50 bucks a day or something, so I should be able to do that at lunchtime or on dinner. But anyway, that's why I'm moving to the permanent rack. So as you can see now, I have put my uprights on. I have welded them all the way around. All four of them are there. Now, when you're welding, you can't always keep things perfectly straight. So we're going to have to address that. But in the meantime, let's get you set up over here because I can't see Nathan. And what we're gonna do, excuse me, I have cleaned all the spots where I'm going to be welding, and basically that is going to fit somewhere along those lines. Now again, there isn't a lot that you can do as far as it being off just a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this whole thing over, and I am going to put it in place, and I'm going to start where it's the straightest, and I'm going to weld that in place. Bing, bang, bing. Okay, so I'm going to start here. I'm going to weld this one first, and then we're going to move one at a time and straighten the others as we go. Once we have one completely welded, at least on both sides, that won't move. Then I can move this one by hand, and then I can bring those over to where they need to be, and I should be able to clean it up pretty good. So let's just see. If I can get this welded. I'm going to turn it on. It is on. Okay. Do I not have a good ground? I don't have a good ground. Where are my clippers? Yes, I know. I don't edit this crap out. I don't own a computer. Can't find my clippers, so now I'm going to have to pause and put yet another one together. So no, I do not edit all this stuff out. I do this on my phone, and I cut it down as much as I can. I try to shut things off. So that you're not just watching nothing. And I at least try talking to keep you from being completely bored while I try to show you real time what's going on. If you're looking for me, the shop's closed. Alright, Now the new wire is 30-aught instead of 32, and I turned up the wire speed just a little so it puts down more wire with the same amount of heat, so I'm not burning through as quickly. Now, since we got this one on, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna bring that over like that. I'm gonna straighten this up, and I'm gonna pull this out by hand. And I should get a glove. I don't know where I put them. I had one somewhere. I'm not gonna worry about it. I just don't care. I burn myself all the time. It's not the end of the world. I'm gonna pull that out. And hope I don't burn through it. And just as I did, it popped itself free again. Usually you're supposed to use clamps. I didn't. And I burnt myself, of course. So let's move to another joint. I should not be getting in a hurry here. Let me get a clamp. And there you go. If you just take a C-clamp, you can pull that together so that it stays where you want it. You can push it down with your hand, and you can tack it in place. And not weld the C-clamp to the work. Alright, that's a good one. When you're working with thin metal and a cheap welder, you really want to work with the wire speed. There's only one dial on this. You can't change the wire speed and the amount of electricity or the heat. So you just kind of got to play with it a tiny turn at a time until you find the right spot where you get a good proper weld without burning through. Now on this one, because it popped a little bit, I'm gonna tighten it up and see. Again, this is homemade. It's gonna look good when I'm done, and I am not a factory welder, so I don't care if there's little imperfections. What I'm looking for is good looking and strong, and this will be that. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to use the clamp just to line it up that way. And then I'll push it down with my hand to make sure that it's touching. And get a weld on it. Because we're going to have a good day. See, I hear myself burning through it. That's why I try to start in a down position and work my way up, because then I can build up the weld material and sort of fill in any holes I burn through as I go. And that's what I'm looking to do. And yes, I have welded my clamp to my material before it happens. You act like a 12-year-old and you just beat it off. It's not a big deal. These are Harbor Freight clamps. They're like $5 a piece. And now we got some decently strong welds. Again, this is just a bike rack. It's going to hold food. It's going to hold my toolboxes. It's going to hold various things. But it ain't going nowhere. Now, I will take the grinder, clean up some of these welds. Okay. I will probably go along the outside just to give them some extra strength. You don't need to see that. The next thing you're going to see is, again, this is the front. So I need to get some legs cut. And these legs are going to come out like this in the center. I have to measure the distance in from both sides, and I have to measure the distance between the two so that will come here and go right here on both sides of that. It's going to come right up, and the bolt's going to go through, and that's what's going to hold it up to the front. And then I still have to put the legs on. Okay, I got the rest of that welded up and cleaned up. And for those of you that might look and go, hey, there's holes in the ends of all of those, they sell these little plastic plugs. They actually come in the bed. And I thought I had one laying right here, of course, to show you. But I don't know where it went, and I don't really care that much. But it's just a little plastic plug that fits those bed platforms, and you just stick it in the hole, and that'll keep it waterproof. So I went ahead and got the rest of that stuff welded up. I used the grinder, I cleaned everything up, and once it's painted, you won't be able to see much of anything except my crappy welding. So now the next part, and I went ahead and moved that out of the way. See how that's one of those swing arm platforms that just grab around your seat pipe. And then I had to put a stabilizing arm on it and all that. So we're getting rid of all that crap. And what I want is for the new rack to go on and bolt right here. So I needed to see the distance between here and here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of threaded rod because the seat needs to stay tight and the rack also needs to be able to come off. So what I'll do is I'll cut a piece of threaded rod and I will feed it through so that it will have a nut on this side of this squeeze and on this side of this squeeze, so it can squeeze that together and stop the seat post from going up and down. And then on the outside of it, there will be a place for that arm and another nut. And I'll have to show you how I'm going to put it on. But basically, I'm going to have to take the threaded rod, I'm going to have to put it through the mount that I'm making, then put the nut on it, and then keep the nut steady while I thread the rod through more so it goes through those two holes. Then put the nut on that side in, and then keep threading it through so it goes through the other arm on the platform I'm building with a final nut on the outside. It sounds complicated, but it makes sense in my head, and you'll see it when I'm finished. So I need to make sure that the space that I put on the front of mine is enough for this from outside to outside, along with a nut to go through there. So I can pretty much make it twice as wide as that, fill the space in with a nut. So that's what we're doing now. Okay, now there are more tools that I don't have, that I can't find right now. But basically what I did was I came in and I found my center. I need my gap to be 2 inches wide on the inside of these pieces. Okay, and I measured the length at 5 inches. So I've marked my marks here. I'm using the magnet to help hold it up. I have a pretty straight eye, and I'm going to go ahead and put it right there. Just like that. Now, make sure we're fairly straight. Again, it's a bike rack. I'm not a pro. So let me get some welds on there. And that, my friends, ain't going nowhere. Nowhere. So now, what I got to do, I don't know if you can see anything. Now what I got to do is put the other end on the same way, and I've already cleaned it and it's ready to go. And I've got my mark right there. Now I can't get a magnet on that side because of that. So I'm gonna go ahead and weld that on and I'll bring you back. All right, I broke out the gloves, so don't yell at me. Squeakers, what's up, baby? I think my cat is pregnant. They say they can have babies at 4 months old, and she's 6 months old, and she's been getting fat. So I'm gonna have to get her fixed. I didn't know they could have babies that young. Anyway, as you can see here, that's what I was looking to do. These two posts, again, will attach. And I'm not putting the glove back on. Awkward with the camera. But these things are rock solid. And all I will have to do is drill a hole through it. Take this off and out of the way. Shut the welder off. So I will drill a hole in through it, and it will go completely through both of them. And then the seat post will go in the center. The bolt will go through, and I will feed washers in there to keep this from crushing down when I put it on. I always overbuild everything. But it's starting to thunder and lightning. Looks like we're going to get a little bit of rain. I will probably throw a few welds across here and here. And that's going to be about it. All that's left at this point will be to make the legs, which will go in here down to the frame of the bike. They'll go off of this center support right here down to the frame of the bike. And that should be it. So I'll bring you back when it's time to put those legs on and put it on the bike. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, Monkey Wrench. I'm Kelly, the monkey with the wrench. Today we are going to be doing some more on the rack for the beak, the electric beak. And I have been in a terrible foul mood today. I won't go into details. But it's been a really bad day. It is 6 o'clock. I've been working on this since 11 a.m. and I haven't gotten anywhere. It's taken me all day to refabricate some things and get some things straight. So I was having an issue here. Don't worry, I'll clean up all that weld with the grinder, and when it gets painted over you won't see it. But if you remember, I had tubes on the front that I used to make the rest of this. Well, they were too far apart. I tried filling it in with things to squeeze, and it wouldn't squeeze the seat posts, which meant the seat would go up and down and turn. I couldn't have that. So I had some L brackets that were galvanized, and I had to use the grinder to get all the galvanized off the brackets, cut them down to the proper shape. They were a lot longer. They were out here and out here. And then I rounded it off here so it fit inside the little gap. and it was close to the screw, and I was able to put my original seat lock back in, pull it tight, and now it's good and solid. And I welded that to the frame. Like I said, it still needs some cleanup and then some paint, but the whole thing's going to get cleaned up and painted. Now, what I've been trying to figure out was how I could attach this thing the way I want. Sorry, I'm in close quarters here. So what I decided to do is, you can see here that I cut the post the correct height up to here, and I'm using some flat stock. This is actually angle iron, a bed frame that was angle iron that I cut the L shape so that now it's just flat part, and I cut that to height, and then I used the grinder to grind out the space so that it would go down over the axle so that the locking nut would be able to lock that in place. And you see I have vice grips there holding it at the moment, because this actually needs to be welded in place. So when I push that back up where it belongs, I still have to grind the paint off up here, which I'm about to do, and then it has to be in place so that I can weld it. First I'm going to weld up here, then I'm going to weld down the side of each one. See, the problem with this light stuff is when you weld an open edge, it burns right through it. It's so hot it burns through, so it's always better to weld on a closed spot. So this will be no problem here at all to weld. I can put a couple of tacks up both sides, weld it, no problem, across the back. It's this part that's going to be fun, because I'm going to blow more holes in the metal than I'm actually going to be able to weld right. But I'm just going to take my time and tack it slowly. See how it puts holes? That's a hole. It just blew right through. And I was able to get it up and build it up, and I will fill that in with some weld nice and slowly and clean that up and then grind it down again. But it's going to do the same thing up here. Now that's plenty strong. Obviously I could put all my body weight on that and it won't go anywhere. It's just a pain in the butt. And so once this is done, I will be doing the same thing with the other side. See, this was originally angle iron bed frame that would have been like that, so I actually cut it. It was like that. So I actually cut it right along the back of the V and made it flat. Then I cut out for the axle to go through, and then I cut both legs exactly the same size, so when I put it together like that, when I put it in place just like the other side that's up there and I weld it, it doesn't matter whether there's little small differences in the length or anything like that. They're close, within 1/4 of an inch, and when you put them together in place and weld them in place, or at least tack them in place, you have the right measurements. Everything's nice and level, and you're right where you need to be. So I'm going to go ahead and tack that in place. Then I'm going to move the bike. Yeah, I had to tie it to the ceiling to keep it straight up so I could work on it. But you got to do what you got to do. So I'm going to go ahead and tack that arm in place, or that leg in place. I'm going to set up and do the other side as well, and then I'm going to take it off and I'll show you what it looks like on the bench. Alright, now I don't know how much you'll be able to see, but see, I'm in close quarters here. With no room to breathe. And I had to bring the welder over here because I couldn't bring the bike over there. So basically, what I'm doing now, I've turned down the wire speed just a tad. That's on. Ah, crap. I didn't grind the paint. It's always something. I'm gonna grind the paint, bring it back. Alright, take 2. I got ready to, actually was filming a clip, got ready to put a couple of tacks on and realized I forgot to grind the paint off. So, let's quickly get this paint off. Plug the welder back in. I had to bring the welder over here because I couldn't get the bike over there to the welder. That's alright. Now, just moving that a little bit. Now I have this nut locked on and tight to hold this flat piece. But just moving this lowered it down. Now I have a piece of wood so that the rack itself is flat up here. And moving that pulled it down just a tad. So I want to make sure that we're high enough. Which we are. Come on. What kind of fucking day I've been having. You think people don't have a bad day? You're the only one? I punched a cat today. For no reason. I lost my temper on a cat. And there's no excuse for that. That back on. That back on. Turn that up a little. I must have hit it with my leg. Turn it up a little bit more. And the trick is try and do it quickly. And don't do it in the same spot. Give it a little bit of time to cool off. And try and get multiple sides. Tacked. You probably noticed I don't use a helmet. I do, however, close my eyes because I'm just tacking. I should be able to take that off. And get some more. Trying to get plenty in there so that it's good and strong. Alright, so now it's in good shape. It's in one piece. I'm going to give that some time to cool. I'm going to turn the bike around. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, and I'll bring you back. Alright, now I put the other side on fast forward. So let's try fairly quickly to do a whole side so you can watch exactly what I'm doing. Hopefully my leg's not in the way. Now, this is the piece I was talking about on the other side. That goes like that. Put a little bit of tension on it, that's all. And this side's gonna go like that. And the reason that I clamp here is because that gives it the correct angle. Everything else you can fill in with weld if it's not exactly perfect. But the angle coming here from the rack to here, if it doesn't fit right, you'll either be bending the legs out trying to fit them on there, or you'll be bending them in trying to fit them on there. And it's just easier if you just go ahead and weld them in place. Oops, what's going on? Okay, they were tight and now they're loose. Why? Don't know. Don't know. Now down here, because this bed frame is wider than the tubing I'm using, I'll use the grinder and clean that up, but you'll see that after. So I got my ground on. The welder's on. So let's get a couple of tacks in place here. Oops. Alright, that ain't moving now. Get a couple on here. It's always important that you tack from multiple angles in multiple spots, because when you take it off, it can move on you. Now this stuff, the bed frame is a lot thicker. The angle iron is a lot thicker. Than the box frame I'm using here. So closing in between the two means you can get a pretty good bead on it. And you just want to make sure that you do it in several places. So that when I pull it off of here, doesn't move. Now the one place I tried to get from here through there, I couldn't get the angle on without removing the tire. So I'm just going to try and put a good tack on 3 sides so it has less chance of moving. When I'm blowing through, so now I'm filling it back in. I can hear it blow through. But now I just have it on 3 sides, so it has less of a chance to move. So let me go ahead and remove it from the bike. Let me get set up, and I'll show you how easy it is to get it off now. All right. In order to get this off, I just gotta loosen these back up. Be careful. I didn't give this any time to cool off. So things around what you're welding are also hot. Bring this over. Now the space here for this bracket makes it a little tight on these nuts. I would probably in the future, instead of using an adjustable, I would use a socket on the other side. This side has more room. But the point of this is I wanted it to be strong enough for a human being to sit on if necessary, because I like to overbuild everything. But I also want it to be able to take the thing off if I ever decide to switch bikes, because 99% of these inexpensive, in this case 26-inch bikes, 99% of these things are all basically the same size. So now that's completely adjustable. Let me change the angle. Now again, I'm in close quarters, so I just wanted to show you what this thing was going to look like. This is obviously upside down. You saw it on the bike. But once I get all the welds cleaned up, get it all ground down, and get a paint job on it, this thing will, you could sit a kid in there if you want to drive him to school. You know, I don't have any kids, so I wouldn't be doing that. But you can see me moving it around the table that all the corners are touching no matter how I turn it, because everything's fairly level. Everything's straight and square the way it's supposed to be. So you can hear, you can see what I did with those L brackets from underneath. I've got to finish welding across here on both sides. And now I've got to finish all the upright welds that you just saw me tack together. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to give it a good sanding, or, you know, with the grinding disc. I'm going to take all the paint off of everything. And I'm going to get, I don't know, maybe some red. It doesn't really matter. It's just going to be a quick protective coat. It's not permanent. Because I'm going to be doing the bike up probably with a vinyl wrap, and I don't know what color I want to make this. I may just spray paint it black just to match what's there. But anyway, I'll bring you back in a second, in a few days when this is done. Everything's welded, ground down, and painted, and back on the bike. Okay, I finished up all the welding, and I've hurt myself 3 times since I was last on camera. I've broken my tripod and 2 tools as well. That's the kind of day I'm having. So this is going to be the end of this video. I have my milk crate with my battery in it, and I actually have to work tomorrow. See, I actually have to work tomorrow. So, I need to make sure that this thing is drivable. Now, some of you may think that I definitely over-engineered this, but I can pick up my bike, and remember, the motor that's down there is 40 pounds plus the bike, and I can pick this thing up, and this rack ain't going nowhere, which means my tools, my battery, a few pizzas, whatever DoorDash throws my way, Uber Eats, whatever, it's not going to be a problem. I can go ahead and just temporarily put that back on. My milk crate fits inside, which is what I wanted. As well, if I don't want to put my milk crate in there, because the battery is going to be mounted outside of the milk crate. The battery is going to be mounted up on that front section. But if I don't want the milk crate, I can still put my trunk in there and lock it and do all that kind of stuff. And I don't mind that it moves around a little bit. I can attach that to the rack if I so choose. Stay. Like I said, I will probably be putting a wooden bottom across here in case I don't want any box at all. But this sucker is strong all day, and that's what I wanted. So if you think you can't weld with a $50 used crap machine that was only $100 brand new at Harbor Freight, well, the truth is you can and you can't. I've been doing it for a long time and I'm still no good at it. I still blow holes through thin metal. But you can do it enough to get the job done, and a little bit of putty, maybe a little bit of epoxy to fill in any holes, give it a good sanding and a good paint, and you will never know that I made that myself. There's still a few little adjustments I need to do. I'm going to be putting a plate back here for some rear lights. There's still some other things that I'm going to be doing, but for now it's functional. You see how on the front there I can put the box. I can move this over to the side, and I could take that battery and mount it right there as well. It's underneath of the seat, and then I still have my cargo area. And then we're going to be getting rid of this stupid basket and building a cargo rack on the front also. But there you go. I'm not the best welder in the world, and that's certainly not, I wouldn't even really consider that a welder, but it does get the job done, and it doesn't look too bad when you're finished. So bed frame to rear bicycle cargo rack, basically. Sorry, this video isn't very good, and I'm in a very bad mood, have been for days. So yeah, if you made it this far, there's a fundraiser. It'll be the pinned comment and also in the description of the video. Every dollar helps. I need some support right now. So anyway, thanks for stopping by. Hit the subscribe button. See you soon.